Hey Brainiacs! Max von Neumann here. A long time ago, a couple of students asked me to give them one secret on how to become successful in mathematics. Although I gave them many secrets, there was one that came to mind first. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's the big secret. Position yourself so that you're not in a hurry. One sign that you're in a hurry is when you skip prerequisites. In other words, you're skipping the stuff you need to know or do before you try to do what you want to do. Prerequisites may be tempting to skip. Who hasn't thought about skipping to the front of the line? But it's not how the natural world works. Tough accomplishments must be earned. You might think that you'll pick up the preliminary knowledge for the topic you're working on while you're working on that topic. But learning the prerequisites along the way with your topic is not an effective strategy. That takes away the brain power that you need for the topic at hand. The topic at hand needs every bit of focus you can give it. For mathematics, in particular, you must focus your laser beam mind onto a very small area to completely grasp very abstract material. Moral of the story is that the prerequisites are your building blocks, so know them well before advancing. Another trap people fall into is that students don't get started on the math they need to do early enough. From another video I did at an earlier time, I mentioned the mantra early and often. When you start a section early enough, you can learn a section of a chapter in pieces, and there's time for your mind to absorb the small differences of a problem set. It also gives you a chance to adjust your tactics after making mistakes. When you're in a hurry, say doing your homework the night before, often the student doesn't have time to adjust their technique, and they usually compound the mistakes, especially when an ineffective technique needs to be scratched and a new technique needs to be developed. Anyway, when you're not in a hurry, your mind works better. Just as in life, think about the things you forget or the rash decisions you make when you're in a hurry. I once remember a friend who was in so much of a hurry that he was trying to start his car with a house key. Now, if being in a hurry can confuse the simple task of putting the right car key into the ignition, imagine the troubles you can get into with complicated math topics. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you're taking a calculus class, statistics, or you're laboring through Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. The idea here is that you're going to pick a topic. So I picked one out here. This one just happens to be in 2-3, linear functions and slope-intercept form. So you're going to focus on that topic. Now that topic is going to be broken down into sections. But before you even start breaking them down into your sections, your little filing cabinet, you want to break it down into the practice problems. So initially here, there's a practice problem 1 that says, what is the slope of the line that passes through the given points? And it gives the points -3, 7, and the other point is -2, 4. So you take those 2 points and you're going to get the slope, and then you're going to be able to ultimately put it in slope-intercept form. But your goal is to understand example 1 in detail. Then maybe go to the problem set, see if there's any that look exactly like that. See if you can solve one, think about it, and maybe research some other ways to actually do the problem. But you want to have the time to have it sink into your brain. And when that happens, when you're elsewhere, you're still thinking about that problem. Not being in a hurry comes from the habit of starting early. Having the wisdom to start early gives you a head start, an almost unfair advantage on the battlefield of solving problems. Imagine having a set of identical twins, and one of the twins was secretly training to run a 5K race while the other twin didn't know his brother was training. After a year of training, the training twin tells his brother that there's a 5K race coming up in a couple of months and they should run it. The non-training twin agrees, thinking that a couple of months would be enough time to run a decent time. Jokingly, the training twin, knowing obviously they have the same genetics, says he thinks he has a running gene that his brother didn't get, and makes a bet with his always competitive brother that he will have a better race time. The bet is on. Race day comes, and the training twin destroys his brother's time by over 5 minutes. A huge difference in a 5K race. The non-training twin couldn't believe it, since he trained extremely hard and he knew his brother had the exact same genes. Well, when the training brother confessed he'd been training for a year before the race idea came up, it was all understood. No amount of training in 2 months was going to beat the endurance built from a year of training. In addition, the extra 2 months of training for the training twin became more effective because it was built on a foundation that was methodically established within a year. Moral of the story: you can't build a foundation overnight, so leverage your time. Whether it's 2 friends competing in jiu-jitsu or 2 people in a math class, the one who starts early will have an undeniable advantage. So when you hear a kid who has all the answers, be assured that kid started early, and that early start is the beginning of an empire. Finally, this idea doesn't just go toward a math topic or math course. It also goes towards semester scheduling. I remember friends of mine in the math department who were eager to complete the units for their degree fast, so their eyes became bigger than their stomach, so to speak. I'd remind them by saying, you do know those classes are not just check marks. You do know you have to actually pass the class. Now, even though these friends were very smart, they more often than not bit off more than they could chew, and later dropped the class or classes. But additionally, and unfortunately, was that it was to the detriment of the classes they kept and could have gotten A's in. Anyway, when you're doing math, get your favorite drink, pick a nice quiet spot, and give yourself time to absorb the math in the moment. And when you're done, you will understand the wisdom of starting early. You will realize later that day, while working on a task unrelated to math, that the catalyst of starting early and not being in a hurry promotes unanswered problems to linger in the mind. It's the way we're built. Whether asleep or awake, jogging or driving, or whatever you might be doing, humans were born to solve puzzles, and those lingering puzzles will in a magical way spark your subconscious mind to put those puzzle pieces, no matter how difficult, together.